He snapped his fingers at the bailiff and said, "Let's move this along." 3 words, too loud, and the room changed temperature. He didn't notice. People like him rarely do. He kept his eyes on the cameras, not the consequences. All rise. Chairs scraped. The judge entered without theatrics and sat like gravity had decided to side with her. She didn't glare. She didn't posture. She just waited. The silence did the rest. Be seated. The defendant planted his elbows on the podium, expensive watch catching the light like it had something to add. "We can save everyone time," he announced. "She's emotional. I was correcting a safety issue. That's it." The judge didn't look impressed. "Name, Rain Khalid." Her gaze slid to the plaintiff. "And you?" "Zara Qureshi," she said. "3rd-grade teacher." She didn't look at Rayan. She looked at the notepad she'd written on in careful, small handwriting. "People who carry classrooms for a living learn to carry their panic quietly." The judge nodded once. "Ms. Qureshi alleges Mr. Khalid posted a fake compliance notice on her door, entered her apartment without consent using a copied key, threatened eviction within 48 hours, and sent emails from a spoof city address. She seeks a stay-away order, lock change reimbursement, statutory penalties, and damages. Mr. Khalid denies and claims he acted for tenant safety." The judge's eyes returned to him. "Is that your position?" Rayan smirked. "Yeah, the building's old. Gaslight is ancient. I told her I'd fix it, and she started screaming eviction like it was a movie. Are you the landlord of record?" The judge asked. "My father is," he said, rolling a shoulder. "I help. Do you hold any license as property manager, inspector, or contractor?" "No. Do you have any legal right to enter the plaintiff's apartment?" "I have a key," he said, as if that were the same thing. The judge let that hang. "Ms. Qureshi," she said gently, "start at the beginning. The notice." Zara's thumb pressed the edge of her notepad until it didn't end. "It was taped to my door when I got home," she said. Bright red. "City Housing Compliance Notice, Unsafe Occupancy Vacate 48 hours. It's a failure to comply could result in forcible removal and fines." It listed a number for compliance desk. "Did you call the number?" The judge asked, asterisk. "I looked it up first," Zara said, small smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm a teacher. We tell kids to check before they click." The number wasn't on any city page. She swallowed. "Then I checked the email at the bottom. Did you receive any emails?" The judge asked that. Zara nodded. "A few hours later. This is a courtesy reminder of your vacate window. It was signed Compliance Liaison R. Khalid." She glanced up. "I thought maybe it was a mistake, so I called my super, and..." The judge asked. "He said he didn't know about any notice," she said. "He told me not to open my door for anyone after 9 p.m. 10 minutes later, someone knocked. It was him." She didn't look at Rayan when she said it. "He had 2 guys with tool belts. He said if I didn't let them in, he would call the city and have me removed." Rayan lifted both hands, palms up. "I said access required, legally." "You're not a lawyer," the judge said, without looking at him. "Ms. Qureshi, did you let them in?" "No," she said. "I told him to come back with the landlord and a proper notice. He tried the key anyway. I had the chain on. He called me difficult. He said, 'You have a kid in there? You want child protection to read you the law?'" Her voice thinned. "My niece was sleeping on the couch." The judge didn't move, but the air around her felt sharper. "Do you have any recordings?" Zara nodded and slid a small flash drive across the rail. "Doorbell camera." The judge placed a hand on the drive like it was something that could break if you touched it wrong. "Before we press play," she said, "Mr. Khalid, do you want to clarify anything?" "You're all overreacting," he said. "I had a template. The city changes URLs every 6 months. Everyone knows that. Do you know what a government domain is?" The judge asked, flat. Rayan's smirk faltered. "I know enough." "I doubt that," the judge said. She nodded to the clerk. The screen worm dot the hallway appeared. Night quiet. A bright red sheet taped to a door. He came into frame first, sharp jacket, phone in one hand, a roll of tape in the other. flanked by two men who didn't look like city anything. He smoothed the notice with the confidence of someone who had posted plenty of things no one asked for. He turned his wrist. The camera caught the name on his phone case. RK. A few minutes ticked by. A deadbolt slid. The chain held. His voice flowed through the speaker like he was bored of other people's boundaries. Open for a safety check. Come back in the morning, Zara's voice said. Steady, teacher steady. With my landlord, you're going to make this difficult? He said. We can do the paperwork the hard way. This is a compliance notice. Read it. I did, she said. The city is .gov. He pressed the key into the lock and twisted. The chain tugged. The door held. The two men behind him shifted, uncomfortable in the way people get when the story they were told doesn't match the scene they walked into. Don't do that, Zara said calmly. You do not have permission. That's not how this works, he said. You sign a lease, you grant access. At reasonable hours with proper notice, she said. This is neither. He leaned toward the chain, smile turning into a show. Do you know who my father is? The judge lifted a hand. Pause. The frame froze with his mouth half open and the chain taut. A small metal sentence holding a whole apartment steady. You said you were correcting a safety issue, the judge said, voice low. Where are your instruments? Your license? A city inspector? A notice with a real seal. Ryan gestured at the screen. It's right there. What is? The judge said. Your printer's ink? A few laughs leaked from the gallery and died fast under the bailiff's stare. The judge nodded to the clerk. Play. Asterisk, he stepped back, tapped his phone, and the two men retreated to the stairwell. He taped a second red copy over the first at an angle, like slapping a sticker over a sticker could make it official. Then he took a photo. The flash washed the doorway white. Tell your niece to enjoy one last sleepover, he said lightly. Tomorrow we do this with the city. The clip ended. The white hum of the lights returned. Rand didn't flinch. That proves nothing, he said. Tenants fake stuff all the time. She could have taped that and filmed me after the fact. Your phone case says RK, the judge said. You just watched yourself post a threat you printed to look like the law. She tapped the flash drive. We'll verify the timestamps and metadata, but your argument is already on the floor. He rolled his shoulder, smirk trying to rebuild itself. My father's legal team will, the judge raised one finger. That was all. The smirk fell off his face like it had been glued on cheap. Mr. Khalid, she said, I don't care who your father is. I care who you were in that hallway. We will hear from the building super. We will hear from a city housing official about that domain. And we will hear about the key. He blinked. What key? The extra one you made, she said. Super will confirm whether he authorized duplicates. You will place any key to Ms. Qureshi's unit on this rail before this hearing is over. If you claim you don't have one and I see you drop it later, this file walks across the street. For what? He said, half laughing. For criminal trespass and impersonation, the judge said. Tone like a line drawn on stone. He swallowed. Miss Qureshi, the judge said gentler, did you change your locks? No, she said. My super said he'd do it when the landlord approved. The landlord is his boss. The judge nodded once. That will be resolved today. The costs will be taxed to Mr. Khalid. Rayan dragged a hand through his hair. You're acting like I climbed in a window. You tried the door, the judge said. The difference is cosmetic. The side door opened at the judge's signal. A man in work boots and a hoodie walked in, cap tucked in his hands. He didn't look at Rayan as he passed. He looked at the bench like it was the only steady thing in the room. Name, the judge said after he was sworn. Rafi Alam, he said. Building super. Mr. Alam, the judge said. Did you authorize Mr. Khalid to enter Miss Qureshi's apartment at night? No, Rafi said. I told him to leave her alone. He said, you work for my family. I said, I work for the building. He didn't like that. Did you give him a key? She asked. Rafi shook his head. He asked for a copy last month. I said I can't, only landlord. He said he'd get it from the office. 2 days later, a spare was missing from the lockbox. Rand's laugh was too quick. That's on your security. Asterisk Rafi didn't look at him. We changed the lockbox code after. I keep a list of opens. He used a contractor card that belongs to a guy who left 2 years ago. The judge turned to Rand, on the rail. He stared at her. He didn't move. Keys to Miss Qureshi's unit, the judge said. Not louder, just closer somehow. Now, asterisk, he reached into his jacket. A small brass key. Then, after a beat, a thinner silver one from his wallet. He set them down like they burned. Bailiff, the judge said. Bag and log. Clerk, no. Defendant surrenders 2 keys to plaintiff's residence. Order. Plaintiff to change locks within 24 hours. Costs tax to defendant. Asterisk Rand tried to catch the audience's eye like they might co-sign his version. None did. Asterisk next witness, the judge said. The side door opened. A woman with a city badge and a professional smile stepped in. Not friendly. Asterisk efficient. She was sworn and sat like someone used to teaching rooms full of people who think rules are suggestions. State your name, the judge said. Anita Khanna, she said. City Housing, Compliance, and Investigations. Miss Khanna, the judge said. It's fake, Anita said. Our email is city.gov. We track spoof senders. This one used a free domain and a mass display. We traced the header to a personal account on a private domain, rkestates.com. Rand's lips parted. Confidence finally meeting a floor with no trapdoor. Do you have a printout? The judge asked. Anita handed over a thin packet, headers with IP strings, the spoofed from address unmasked. And the little tell no one who hasn't worked in government knows to look for the wrong date stamp format. The judge didn't rush. She set the packet where Rand could see it. Before I decide whether that folder takes a walk, you'll explain to me why the sender domain for compliance is yours. He inhaled. He exhaled. No words came out. Good, the judge said softly. Silence finally doing something useful. She turned to the clerk. Play the voicemail. Zara's phone number flashed on the screen, then the clip. A man's voice. Smooth and lazy like the problem was someone else's. This is compliance. Last courtesy call. Vacate within 48 hours. Non-compliance will be escalated. Don't make this worse for yourself. The recording ended with a click that felt like a door locking from the inside. Ran. Went still the way people get still when a story has no exits left. We're going to take this one level at a time, the judge said. Her voice a calm blade. Key. Email. Notice. We'll talk safety after we finish with honesty. She looked past him to the gallery, then back. And Mr. Khalid, your father isn't in this room. You are. The air gathered itself. The shape of the moment changed. The judge set her hand on the evidence folder and did not open it yet. Here's what happens next, she said. We're going to hear from your father's office. Then we're going to talk consequences. And then, if your mouth tries to do what your hands did in that hallway, the purple folder gets a new address. He swallowed. The room listened to the sound and understood exactly how much it meant. Asterisk, the speakerphone clicked, and a man's voice filled the room older. Clicked, carrying the strain of someone managing a crisis through a pane of glass. This is Khalid and Sons Properties, he said. Imran Khalid speaking. The judge didn't look at Rand. Mr. Khalid, this is the court. Your son appears here today on allegations of unauthorized entry and impersonation of city compliance. Do you authorize your son to post notices, enter units at night, or contact tenants as a representative of your company? No, Imran said, too fast. Then slower measured. No, he is not authorized to enter units. Any access goes through Mr. Alam, the superintendent, during business hours. Notices come from our office. City interactions go through our council. Did you instruct him to post the red notice on Miss Qureshi's door? The judge asked. No, he said again, each letter carved out of embarrassment. We use printed forms on letterhead, not whatever that was. Did you create or approve rkestates.com for tenant communication? The judge asked. Imran exhaled, audible. That is not our domain. Our domain is callandsons.com. If RK Estates exists, I didn't authorize it. The judge glanced at Anita Canna. Anita gave a small nod, as if a box just ticked itself. Mr. Khalid, did your son have access to the lockbox? No, Imran said. Then, with the weary honesty of someone watching their last polite fiction die, he had the office code. He should not have used it. The judge's gaze slid to Rayyan. Anything else I should know, Mr. Khalid? A pause. Imran's voice softened into resignation. 2 years ago, my son printed parking citations and placed them on cars in front of our building when tenants double-parked. I shut that down. I thought he'd learned. Thank you, the judge said. Remain reachable. The line clicked off. In the wake of his father's voice, the room breathed with a new shape, shame replacing swagger in the air around Rayyan like a weather change. We move, the judge said, and nodded to the side door. A woman in a floral scarf and sensible flat stepped in, gripping a phone like it might jump from her hand. She was sworn. She sat, and her eyes found Zara immediately. An instinctive check-in only neighbors know how to make. Name, the judge said. Shabnam Rehman, she replied. I live across the hall. Ms. Rehman, the judge said. What did you see? I saw him put up the red paper, she said, the indignation in her voice tempered by fear. I saw him try the key. I recorded from the peephole. She held up her phone. You can see his face. You can hear him say, do you know who my father is? And she glanced at Zara, apology in her eyes. You can hear the little one cry. The judge's mouth tightened by a millimeter. Play it. The peephole view gave everything a fisheye tilt, the chain, the hinge, the slice of Rayyan's grin. His voice came tinny through the small speaker. You want child protection to redo the law. In the background, a child's sudden cry, the soft hush of Zara's voice, the small rhythm of a niece trying to swallow fear. The judge lifted a hand. Pause. The room held still for that one sound, then let it dissipate like smoke. We have enough, the judge said, not theatrically. Just true. Rayyan tried for a lifeline. I didn't threaten CPS. I meant if there were a gas issue. No, the judge said quietly. You said child protection as a tool. They are not a tool. Shabnam pressed her lips together. He did the same last month 2 floors down, she added, the confession pulled out of her by the gravity of the room. A red paper on Mrs. Rahman's door. She ripped it. He said he'd have her removed for non-compliance. She's 70. Rayyan spun toward her. This is a campaign. It's a pattern, the judge corrected. Clerk, pull the incident log from the building dates of any notices posted in the last 90 days. Ms. Khanna? Anita flipped a page. We received 2 complaints from tenants at that address about fake compliance emails in the past 6 weeks, she said. Same domain. Both signed R. Khalid. We flagged the building for outreach. The judge set her palm flat on the bench. We're stacking, Mr. Khalid, not wishes, habits. The bailiff approached with a small white receipt bag. Subpoena returned from Quick Print on Fulton, he said. Manager sent purchase logs. The judge opened it. The receipt was clean. 2 packs of red cardstock, 1 black toner, 1 stapler, time-stamped the afternoon before the notice appeared on Zara's door. Card on file, R. Khalid. The manager's note was stapled. Printed compliance notice unsafe occupancy from a PDF on a USB stick. Customer asks for a font that looks official. Rayyan's mouth opened and found nothing inside it. Asterisk. Mr. Khalid, the judge said, tone surgical. You purchased red cardstock and toner. You printed a fake notice. You taped it to a door bearing a child's sleep. You tried a key you had no right to hold. You spoofed a city email. And you told a woman you'd involve child protection to make her comply. Before we talk numbers, you are going to say a sentence to the record, clean, no weather around it. He gripped the podium. I impersonated compliance, he said, voice stripped to bone. I tried to enter at night. I threatened her. Better, the judge said. Now we finish the pyramid. Rafi cleared his throat. He also asked me to move the niece while he did a check, he said. I refused. Zara looked down. Fear and fury flickered across her face and settled into something steadier. Resolve, Ms. Qureshi. The judge said gently, Do you have anything else for the record? Zara's thumb traced the edge of her notepad. He emailed my principal, she said softly. From that same domain. Said I was combative with housing and putting children at risk by staying in an unsafe unit. The subject was concern about third grade teacher at PS 111. Every teacher in the room present or past felt an old familiar anger rise and sit down where it could not break anything. Do you have the email? The judge asked. Zara handed over a printed page. The header matched Anita's packet. The signature read Compliance Liaison, Khalid. Clerk, add it, the judge said. Mr. Khalid, you attempted to export your fake authority to your victim's place of work. That will cost you. He frowned like the math had just turned, for the first time, in a direction he'd never bothered to imagine. The judge nodded to the side door again. A man in a navy suit with a briefcase stepped in. He looked like a lawyer who had been told to come, didn't want to, and came anyway. He was sworn and sat. State your name, the judge said. Martin Feld, he replied. General Counsel for Khalid and Sons. Mr. Feld, the judge said, do you recognize this compliance notice? She slid the red page, now protected in a clear sleeve, across the rail. Not as anything we use, he said. We never post compliance notices. If there's a violation, the city posts. If there's access needed, we deliver a 24-hour notice on letterhead during business hours. He looked at Rand, something like disappointment, trying to keep its tie straight. This is not ours. Who has authority to communicate with tenants about compliance? The judge asked. Me, he said. Or our property manager in writing. Does RK Estates exist? She asked. No, he said. And I will be sending a cease and desist to whoever registered it. If that is Mr. Khalid, he didn't look at Rayan, we will dissolve it. The judge's face didn't show pleasure. She wasn't here to enjoy compliance. She was here to require it. Thank you. You may step down. He rose, nodded to the judge, and left. His briefcase looking like it held more than papers, maybe the weight of a decision arriving at an office by the end of the day. The judge folded her hands. We're going to talk safety, she said. Briefly. Then we will set boundaries in dollars. She turned to Rafi. Was there any active gas leak the night in question? No, Rafi said. We had the annual inspection last month. I have this sticker. I told him not to say gas. Tenants get scared. That word is heavy. City? The judge asked. Anita glanced at her notes. No active violations on that unit. The building has 2 open maintenance items unrelated to gas. Good, the judge said. Then safety was a costume. Rayan breathed out a small, derisive sound at his own feet. Mr. Khalid, the judge said, what you wanted was control. And when you were told to wait until morning, you decided to manufacture morning. He didn't argue. He couldn't. Here's how this will proceed, the judge said. Distance first, then damages. Then whether the purple folder walks. She looked at Zara. You will change your locks today. The building will reimburse. You will receive a stay away order. Mr. Khalid may not knock, call, email, DM, tag, or send any third party to your door or your employer. Any building communication must go through Mr. Feld or Mr. Alam in writing during business hours with a real letterhead. You are not required to respond to anything from RK Estates or any address that isn't an official domain. If you receive contact from any variant, you will forward it to the clerk. Zara exhaled, not relief, not yet. But some scaffolding felt like it was up now. Where an empty drop had been. The judge turned to Rayan. Keys. And cards for any master or lockbox. Access you still hold, she said. He dragged his hand through his pocket, produced a battered contractor fob, and set it down. The bailiff bagged it with a neutral efficiency that felt like a ritual. Clerk, the judge said, prepare the institutional non-contact order. Include the school? Rayan bristled reflexively. You wrote to her principal, the judge said. Your voice will be absent from that building now. He shut his mouth. Now money, the judge continued, calm as a calculator. Red cardstock, toner, printing, lock change, filing fee, and statutory penalty for attempted illegal lockout communications. We'll tally after we hear from one last person. The side door opened one more time. A woman in a navy cardigan stepped in, a lanyard with a school logo bouncing against her chest as she walked. She was sworn and sat, folding her hands to keep them from scolding anyone. Name, the judge said. Principal Nisha Patel, PS 111, she said. Her eyes went to Zara with a kindness that flickered into steel when she turned to face the room. I received an email from compliance about Miss Kurishi. I forwarded it to our legal team. We verified it was spoofed and sent it to the city. Miss Kurishi is an excellent teacher. She paused, eyes landing on Ryan like a teacher's red pen. Your email tried to make her job small. It failed. Thank you, the judge said. You may step down. Principal Patel smiled at Zara on her way out, proud, protective. The way only a school can be for its own, and the door clicked shut behind her. The judge returned her attention to the man who had dragged this room into being today. We are going to take 5 minutes, she said. During recess, you will sign a written acknowledgement of the printing, the notice, the key, the spoofed email, the voicemail, and the principal email. You will sign a non-contact directive covering Ms. Kurishi, her unit, and her employer. You will prepare one-page retractions addressed to City Housing and PS 111's legal through the clerk. You will also write one clean apology for the file. Not to her desk. To this record. 3 lines. What you did. What you owe. What you will not do again. Rand swallowed. Okay, no flourishes, the judge said. No justifications, verbs. She stood. Court in brief recess. As bodies moved, Rand didn't look for a camera this time. He reached for a pen with the same hand he'd used to press a key into a lock that didn't belong to him. Zara went to the clerk to begin the lock change order, Shabnam to her side like a guardrail. Rafi spoke to Anita quietly about how to identify real badges. Mr. Feld slipped out, phone already at his ear, a domain name's future measured in the length of a hallway. The bailiff collected the fob, the keys, the red notice in its plastic sleeve. On the bench, the purple folder sat where the judge could see it from anywhere in the room. It didn't threaten. It waited. Asterisk. All rise, then be seated. The judge returned with the same steady gravity she left with. Nothing dramatic. Just a room that knew which way was down again. Clerk, she said. Signed acknowledgements received, the clerk replied, passing a slim stack to the rail. Defendant admits printing and posting the red notices, attempting entry with a copied key, sending spoofed emails, and leaving the voicemail. Non-contact directive signed covers plaintiff, her unit, her employer. Retraction drafts prepared for City Housing and PS 111 legal. Keys and contractor fob logged. The judge scanned the first page. Mr. Khalid, she said without looking up, read the sentence you wrote that matters. He cleared his throat. I impersonated city compliance and tried to force entry at night, he said, voice flat. I threatened her job through her principal. I won't contact her or her employer again. Clean enough, the judge said. Now we lift another layer. She nodded to the side door. A man in a maroon polo with a quick print logo stepped in, nervous but firm. He was sworn and sat, clutching a small hard drive like an egg. Name, the judge said. Samir Patel, he answered. Manager, quick print on Fulton. Mr. Patel, the judge said, did you fulfill an order for red notices like this one? She lifted the plastic sleeve. He nodded. Yes, customer brought a USB, printed 10 copies on red cardstock. Asked for a font that looked official. Paid with card. Receipt shows R. Khalid. Rand stared at a point on the bench that wasn't there. Anything else? The judge asked. Samir swallowed. We save job metadata 30 days. The PDF's document properties show author name Ranchi and device MacBook Pro RK. Timestamp 11:14 a.m. the day before. The judge set the sleeve beside the receipt. The red of the cardstock and the black of the toner suddenly looked cheap against the neat weight of the record. Thank you, she said. You may step down. Samir laughed as if the floor beneath him had finally stopped tilting. The judge's gaze slid to Anita Khanna. Ms. Khanna, one more question. Anita sat forward. Yes, the rkestates.com domain. Anything further? Anita flipped a page. Our IT flagged it for spoofing. Public WA shows privacy protection. However, the email headers list a sending IP linked to a residential service in the zip code. The string matches 2 other complaints we received from the same building. Good, the judge said. We won't pretend it was a stranger in Portugal. Ryan pushed a breath through his teeth. It was a .org, he said weakly. People use those. Governments don't, the judge said. Not here, she turned to Rafi. Lock change appointment? 2 o'clock, Rafi said. I called during recess. New cylinder, 2 keys. Defendant reimburses, the judge said. Submit the invoice. Rayan shifted like the word reimburses had just learned how to sit on his chest. The judge nodded at the bailiff. He approached with a thin manila envelope. Subpoena returned from the building's camera, he said. The judge slid out 2 stills, a grainy shot of the lobby lockbox and a timestamp from 3 weeks earlier. A figure in a sharp jacket leaned in, the edge of a familiar phone case visible. The next still showed a contractor fob in the panel, access granted, glowing green. Mr. Alum? The judge asked. Rafi didn't have to look twice. That's the old fob, he said. We deactivated it the next day. Rayan's father's voice seemed to linger in the room even though the speaker had gone dark. He had the office code. He should not have used it, Mr. Khalid, the judge said. You have no case to argue. What you have is a list to complete. But before we set that in stone, there is one person left who needs this room to hear her. Zara turned. A woman stepped in wearing a black cardigan and a face, carrying the kind of exhaustion only parents of small children recognize in each other. She was sworn. She sat and her hand sought Zara's without looking. Name, the judge said. Amina Qureshi, she said softly. Zara's sister. Amina, the judge said. You were present the night in question? Yes, she said. We were watching a movie with my daughter. She's 7. We heard the knock. Zara checked the camera. When he said child protection, my daughter, Amina blinked hard once. She started crying. She asked if she did something wrong. She didn't sleep alone for 3 nights. Rand's jaw flickered, the first ripple of something not performative moving under his skin. Thank you, the judge said gently. You may step down. Amina squeezed Zara's hand and stood. As she passed, she looked at Ryan. Not cruelty, not mercy. The look you give a stranger who startled your child at a door. The judge let the silence absorb the shape of a 7-year-old's cry. Then she set her palm on the bench and made the shape of this case clear. Asterisk. Here's what we have, she said. You printed and posted a counterfeit eviction-adjacent notice to frighten a tenant into compliance. You attempted unauthorized entry at night with a copied key. You spoofed city email to add teeth to your lie. You escalated to her employer to damage her standing. You invoked child protection to make a mother open a door. You did this while holding your family's name out like a hall pass. And you did it at least twice. Ryan said nothing. He had finally found the right time to try silence. Imran Khalid is not in this room, the judge continued. Mr. Feld is not in this room. Ms. Khanna is not your counsel. I am reading this to you because it is your record. The clerk slid a small white card across the rail. A calculation. The judge glanced and nodded. We'll set damages and penalties in a moment, she said. But first distance, Ms. Qureshi will not receive another knock from your knuckles. She will not read another email from your fake letterhead. She will not have to explain to a principal why compliance has an opinion about a classroom. Ryan inhaled, exhaled. His eyes looked bloodshot in the bright room. Clean your mouth, the judge said. Say the line you've avoided that isn't about money. He swallowed. I use fear to get compliance, he said, words like gravel. I lied about the law. I won't do it again. Better, the judge said. Now we go to the thing that finally makes people listen, numbers. She tapped the card. Costs, lock change, billed at 160. Red cardstock and toner 58. Quick print job 26. Filing fee 75. Statutory penalty under the illegal lockout communication statute $1,000 per occurrence. 2 occurrences verify Ms. Qureshi and Ms. Rahman's building complaint 2000. Spoofed email to employer civil penalty under impersonation clause 500. Total base 2,819. Plus the school and city retraction processing fees through the clerk 30 apiece 60. Total 2,879. Rayan blinked, counting ghosts. I can pay 500 today, he said. Then 200 biweekly. No one asked you for a wish, the judge said. The clerk will accept 500 today. Then 200 every 2 weeks until paid. Consent to wage garnishment if you miss by more than 7 days. 1 grace week per year, non-cumulative. Okay, he said. No smirk, no show. Education, the judge added. You will complete a landlord-tenant compliance seminar within 60 days and an ethics boundary workshop within 90. Proof due at 30-day review. Completion due at 90-day review. Mr. Feld, who had reappeared in the doorway, cleared his throat. Your Honor, Khalid and Sons will enroll all frontline staff in that seminar on our dime. Good, the judge said. Do it, she turned to Anita. City Housing will send a building-wide notice clarifying how to identify real communications. Include a sample with the correct seal, domain, and hours. Anita nodded. We will. The judge's gaze landed on Rafe. You will install a new lockbox and audit access cards. Provide the court with a list of active fobs. Already started, Rafi said. Ms. Qureshi, the judge said. Do you want the apology he wrote read into the record? Or will the paper carry it? Zara glanced toward the clerk's blue ink letter sitting in a manila sleeve. Let the paper carry it, she said. I have students after this. Understood, the judge said. Before we finalize, there is one more piece. The bailiff approached with a narrow, clear bag. Inside, a laminated badge that looked like it wanted to be real. Compliance Liaison Marquet. Rayan shut his eyes for a second. Where was this found? The judge asked. His car, the bailiff said. Plain view. The judge didn't shake her head. She didn't need to. Mr. Khalid, she said, you can't invent titles for yourself. You're going to sign an affidavit that you have no such role. Miss Khanna will keep this. If I see one more prop, the purple folder walks. He nodded. Yes. The judge leaned forward a fraction. You are also going to write 1-page retractions, not performative, sent through the clerk. To City Housing, I impersonated your office. I will not contact tenants as compliance. To PS 111 Legal, I impersonated City Compliance in an email. Withdraw my claims, not apologies. Corrections. Okay, he said quietly. The judge looked to the gallery. Mr. Khalid, she said into the air. Imran, the speaker wasn't on. The man wasn't present. The words still knew their address. Your son is going to bring you this order. You are going to implement it. The room settled. The purple folder sat heavy and still, a destination with an address no one wanted to write on it. Before we read the order, the judge said, I want 2 sentences in the record from each of you. Verbs, not wishes. She nodded at Zara. I will change my locks today and forward any spoof contact to the clerk, Zara said, clear. I will not open my door to anyone after 9 p.m. without a proper notice. Mr. Khalid, I will pay 500 today and 200 every 2 weeks until this is paid, he said. I will send retractions, take the classes, and leave her in her job alone. The judge tilted her head, listening for the wobble she could pull out if it existed. It didn't. Not today, Dot, the bailiff set a white envelope by the rail. Rayan counted out 500 in cash and slid it across. The clerk stamped a receipt and filed his apology with the blue ink letters. Others had left behind in this room before him. Dot. The judge lifted her pen, then paused for 1 beat longer than anyone expected. Mr. Khalid, she said, less blade. More fact, you're going to wake up tomorrow and think about printing something, calling someone, pushing a door. Hear me, do none of those things. If you have a building issue, you call Mr. Feld. If you think an apartment is unsafe, you call the city. If you want compliance, you wait until morning and follow the law. He nodded once, and for the first time it looked like the motion wasn't for show. It was for him. Order to follow, the judge said, capping the pen. The click sounded like a small door closing where a bigger one had stood open too long. The clerk looked down at her list and up at the room. We can finish this next part quickly, she said. Then you can both go live like the end of this matters. The judge rested a hand on the purple folder. She didn't move it. Not yet. The room understood what that meant. The next right thing had a schedule. The next wrong one had a walk. Asterisk, the judge's pen hovered, then stopped mid-air like she'd caught a sound the rest of the room hadn't heard yet. Not yet, she said, almost to herself. One more truth. The bailiff stepped forward with a small tan envelope. From Mr. Feld, he said, counsel for Khalid and Sons. The judge slid out a single page, scanned, and set it where Rayan could see the letterhead without reading the legalese. Counsel has initiated cancellation of rkstates.com with the registrar, she said. A cease and desist will go to any vendor who produced badges or signage with that name. Certificate of cancellation due to the clerk within 7 days. Mr. Feld appeared in the doorway again, a nod confirming the weight of a decision already rolling downhill. Understood, he said. We'll comply. Good, the judge said. And because spoofs have a way of sprouting again with a different haircut, if any derivative A estate, rec compliance, any variant shows up in your hands or in public, the purple folder walks. Rand's Adam's apple bobbed. It won't. We're not relying on your assurances, the judge said. We're building walls. She tapped the clear bag with a laminated Compliance Liaison RK badge. Miss Kanat, your office will retain this. Mr. Feld will collect any other props, badges, stamps, seals from Mr. Khalid today and deliver an affidavit that nothing remains in circulation. Anita nodded. We'll log it. The judge glanced toward the gallery. Mrs. Rahman? She asked softly. A small woman rose from the end of a row, as if the bench had called her by name in a language older than bureaucracy. She moved carefully, sat, and folded her hands the way elders fold prayers into their palms. Sworn in, she lifted her chin a fraction. State your name, the judge said. Shahana Rahman, she answered. 3rd floor. Mrs. Rahman, the judge said gently. Did you receive a red notice? 2 weeks ago, she said. Middle of the day. He taped I tore. She mimed the motion, a quick snap with small fingers that had done their share of hems and buttons. He said I would be removed for non-compliance. I told him, Beta, I am 70. You will not remove me like a rug? He laughed. I did not. A ripple half smile, half ache, moved through the room. Thank you, the judge said. You may sit. Shahana nodded to Zara in a small, fierce way and returned to her seat. We add that to our count, the judge said simply. Not to punish by the pound, but because the law measures patterns when people won't. The clerk's printer chattered, a small domestic sound in a room that rarely allowed any. She tore off a confirmation and passed it to the rail. Lock change scheduled, invoice to follow, she said. Caseworker from City Housing available by phone to assist Ms. Qureshi with verifying official communications. Good, the judge said. We're going to address the ugliest word used in this hallway, child protection. Ms. Kina, did your office receive any report? Asterisk. No, Anita said. An X shows no call logged that night. Then the threat was empty, the judge said. But weaponized. Mr. Khalid, you will sign an affidavit before you leave this building that you did not file any report and will not invoke Child Protective Services in any building matter unless directed by a mandated reporter or a court. If a report emerges with your name on it that doesn't meet that standard, the purple folder walks. Rand's voice was barely there. I'll sign. Say the sentence, the judge said, tone low. Precise. I won't use child protection as leverage ever again, he said. I understand it's not a tool. Better, the judge said. Asterisk, the bailiff slid another clear bag onto the rail. Inside, a sheet of paper with a cheap city crest printed too dark. We recovered this from the building bulletin board, he said. Notice of access RK Estates. Raffi winced. He posted that last month, he said. I took it down. The judge didn't look surprised. Mr. Feld, your office will circulate a letter to all tenants by tomorrow. Official channels, hours, and domains. Include a sample of the city seal beside the fake so people can see the difference at a glance. We can do that, Mr. Feld said. Good, the judge said. And to keep one more door from being tested while this resets, Mr. Allam, you will audit and replace the lockbox by Friday. Provide a list of active fobs to the clerk and deactivate any legacy access. You will document who holds keys to Miss Qureshi's door? No one else will. Raffi nodded. Yes. The judge turned back to Rayan with that unnerving stillness of hers, the kind that made it impossible to tell whether she was about to leave you alone or lift your life up by the collar. We've dealt with props and paper, she said. Now we deal with the mouth that powered them. He stared at the grain of the wood as if it could answer for him. It didn't. You will withdraw your email to PS 111 Legal, she said. Formally, through the clerk with a line at the top, I impersonated a city compliance officer. My statements are withdrawn. Not I'm sorry if, not misunderstanding. Withdrawn, period. Okay, he said, and you will send a retraction to city housing, she continued. I impersonated your office. I will not contact tenants as compliance. Again. Not sorry, correct. Okay, he said again, and because you build a facade out of fonts, the judge added. You will sit in the court's Ethics of Authority module and the Landlord-Tenant Compliance Seminar. You will pass the quizzes. You will bring proof. He nodded. Yes, the bailiff approached with a small white envelope. Payment today? He asked. Rayan counted out bills carefully, like a ritual. 5 crisp hundreds went to the clerk. The stamp thudded. The receipt slid back, small and shockingly ordinary for how much it meant. You're going to want to show this to someone, the judge said, catching the flicker in his eyes toward the hallway. Resist that. This is not a trophy. It's a receipt. It buys you exactly one chance to do what you said you'd do. He tucked the slip into his wallet like he wanted it to burn and couldn't ask it to. The judge looked at Zara. We're almost done, she said softly. Before I read the order, is there anything you want in this record that wasn't said? Zara thought for a heartbeat. Yes, she said. I want it recorded that I didn't move because of a red paper. I stayed because I followed every rule they gave me. And because my niece should learn that a stranger's voice at the door isn't the law. The judge's mouth tipped by a millimeter, the closest she came to a smile this morning. So noted. The clerk lifted a slim blue sleeve. Apology letter is on file, she said. 3 lines, clean. Do you want it read? The judge asked Zara. She shook her head. Let the paper carry it, she said. I have spelling tests after lunch. A soft murmur, almost a laugh, spread and disappeared. The room felt briefly human again. The judge's gaze returned to Rayan. You thought you were correcting behavior, she said. You were collecting power. There's a difference. The first uses the law. The second impersonates it. The first makes people safer. The second makes 7-year-olds cry. He nodded. A tiny motion that looked new on his face. You're going to wake up tight with a habit to fix with your hands what you can't fix with your patience, she said. Remember this, knock once in daylight with proper notice or don't knock at all. He swallowed. Yes, 2 quick procedural notes, the judge added, looking to the clerk. Recess appointment with the caseworker by phone for Miss Qureshi today. Lock change it to building wide letter tomorrow. 30-day review for proof of class enrollment. Retraction sent through the clerk. Lockbox audit. 90-day review for completion and ongoing compliance. All set, the clerk said. Appointments confirmed. The judge reached for her pen, paused. Mr. Khalid, she said one last time. Clean sentence. What do you owe besides money? He didn't look for his father this time. He didn't look for an exit. Distance, restraint, honesty, he said. And no more pretending to be the law. Good, the judge said. That one goes on the wall inside your head. The door at the back clicked. A courier in a beige jacket slipped in and placed an envelope with the clerk. She checked it, passed it up. The judge glanced down. Registrar confirmation, she said. Domain cancellation initiated. Affirmation due within 7 days. She set it beside the laminated badge. Props and paper, coming apart at the seams. No, the judge said, gathering the file into a stack that looked less like a threat and more like a plan. We make it official? Before the ink hit paper, she lifted her eyes one last time. I am holding the purple folder here for 90 days, she said. If you breathe on a door you don't own, if you email a principal, if you print one more red sheet, it walks. And you won't be able to say you didn't see it coming. He nodded, no fight left to misdirect the truth. Order to follow, the judge said, uncapping her pen. The click landed like a small, final warning. The next sound would be the one that mattered. The bailiff stood a half step closer to the rail. Zara exhaled and slid her phone back into her purse. Shabnam squeezed her elbow. Rafi checked his watch against the lock change. Anita slid the badge into a flat file. Mr. Fell typed a note to his assistant. List every fake letterhead in the building and make it disappear. The judge lowered her gaze to the lines. That would redraw 2 people's lives around a door, and who gets to touch it? The room leaned forward, not for drama, but for the simple relief of a rule stated and signed. The pen touched down. The end began. She didn't raise the gavel yet. She raised the order. Paper before wood. Consequences before sound. Judgment, she said. And the room leaned in because this part decides what the next day looks like. Damages and penalties, she began. Eyes on the line the clerk had totaled earlier. The court previously calculated $2,879, lock change $160. Cardstock and toner $58. Quick print $26. Filing fee $75. Retraction processing $60. Statutory penalties, 2 illegal lockout communications at $1,000 apiece, and $500 for impersonation in a communication to the plaintiff's employer. She looked up once, then continued. In light of Mrs. Roman's sworn testimony and the city's record of multiple complaints at this address, the illegal lockout communications penalty is assessed for 3 occurrences. Add $1,000. New total, $3,879. Rayan's eyes flickered as the math hardened. He didn't argue. There was nothing left to lift. Payment schedule, the judge said. $500 today received. $200 every 2 weeks until paid in full. Consent to wage garnishment is signed. 1 7-day grace period per year, non-cumulative. Miss a due date by more than 7 days without a clerk-approved modification. And we reconvene with the purple folder. The clerk noted the change in a neat hand that never wobbled. Access, the judge went on, as if she were laying bricks. Defendant has surrendered keys and a contractor fob. Plaintiff will change locks today at 2 p.m. Super will escort the locksmith. Invoice to the clerk. Cost tax to the defendant. Lockbox to be audited and replaced by Friday. List of active fobs to the clerk. Legacy access deactivated. Only Mr. Alam and Mr. Feld's designated property manager may hold keys to Miss Qureshi's unit. No one else. Rafi nodded, already scrolling to confirm the locksmith text he'd sent during recess. Asterisk. Non-contact, she said. An order is in effect for 180 days, renewable on motion. Defendant will not call, knock, email, DM, tag, or send a proxy to the plaintiff, her niece, or her employer. He will not appear at her door or her classroom. Any building communication must go through Mr. Feld or Mr. Alam in writing during business hours on proper letterhead. Any deviation triggers an immediate hearing. Zara's shoulders eased a fraction. The kind of easing you can only see if you've watched someone hold themselves. Politely did for too long. Asterisk. Retractions and corrections, the judge said, pointing with her pen, not the tip, just the intent. Within 48 hours, defendant will transmit through the clerk 1-sentence retractions to City Housing and PS 111 Legal. Text as follows. I impersonated your office in communications dated dates. My statements are withdrawn, not I'm sorry if, not misunderstood. Withdrawn. Rand's jaw moved. I'll send them, he said. It landed like admission's quieter cousin. acceptance, asterisk, compliance props. She added, tapping the plastic sleeve with the fake badge. Ms. Khanna's office will retain the laminated compliance liaison RK badge. Mr. Feld's firm will collect and destroy any remaining fake badges, stamps, seals, or signage, and file an affidavit within 7 days attesting that none remain in circulation. Certificate of domain cancellation for rkestates.com due within 7 days. If any variant appears, RK Estate, RK Compliance, whatever haircut it tries, the purple folder walks. Mr. Feld answered from the doorway like a man who knew the difference between a favor and an order. We'll file the affidavit and the cancellation. Education, the judge said. Defendant will complete the landlord-tenant compliance seminar within 60 days and the ethics of authority module within 90. Proof of enrollment due at 30-day review. Proof of completion due at 90. Quizzes required. No screenshots of a pause video will count as proof. A small ripple of rueful recognition moved through the room, the universal knowledge that someone, somewhere, has tried to pass a quiz with a pause button. City notice, she continued. Housing will circulate a building-wide letter by tomorrow. Official domains opening parenthesis.gov. Sample sales side by side with the fakes, office hours, and a hotline to verify notices. Include a line in large print. No night entries without emergency responders present. Anita nodded. We'll send in post. Child protection invocation, the judge said, voice dropping. Defendant will sign an affidavit before he leaves this building. He filed no report and will not invoke child protective services in any building matter unless directed by a mandated reporter or a court. If a report appears with his name that doesn't meet that standard, the referral leaves this room. Rand's reply was small and plain. I'll sign. The judge looked at Zara. Ms. Qureshi, you will speak to the caseworker by phone today. You will forward any spoofed emails to the clerk. You will not open your door after 9 p.m. for anyone not on a written notice or wearing a real badge from a real agency. If you doubt, you call. The world doesn't get your fear for free anymore. Zara nodded. Yes, the judge turned back to Rand. You're going to feel the itch to fix this with a shortcut, she said. Resist it. If you believe a unit is unsafe, you call the city. If you want access, you go through Mr. Feld. If you want compliance, you wait until morning and follow the law. You don't print your way around inconvenience. You tolerate it. That's what the law looks like on a Tuesday. He swallowed. Understood. Say it without the cushion, she said. I won't impersonate authority or use fear, he said. I'll follow the process. Better, the judge said. Clean sentence. She checked the clerk with a slight tilt of the head. 30-day review, the clerk said. Proof of class enrollment, retraction sent, lockbox audit complete, first 2 biweekly payments posted. 90-day review. All classes complete, payments current, affidavits filed, domain canceled, letter posted. Purple folder remains here for 90 days. If he breathes on a door he doesn't own, it walks. The judge set the stack down and finally lifted the gavel an inch. Then stopped. Before I strike, she said, you both owe the record a sentence. Verbs, not wishes. Zara didn't glance at Rand. She spoke to the bench. I will change my locks today, verify notices with the caseworker, and teach my class after lunch, she said. I will not let a red paper tell a 7-year-old what the law is. Rand looked at the fake badge and at the rail where his keys had sat before plastic swallowed them. I will pay $500 today and $200 every 2 weeks until it's done, he said. I will send retractions, take the classes, and stay away from her door and her job. The judge nodded once, not generous, not unforgiving. Just finished. Order will issue as stated, she said. The gavel fell. 1 clean strike. Not loud. Enough. Things moved. They always do after a gavel. The bailiff guided Rand to the clerk for class enrollment, service placement, and the affidavit stack. No drama, just pens and boxes and lines where signatures go. He signed the CPS affidavit with a hand that looked older than it had an hour ago. The clerk slid 2 appointment slips across the counter, a date circled for the seminar, another for the ethics module. He didn't ask for later dates. He circled the earliest and kept his mouth closed around the habit that once would have bargained. Mr. Feld intercepted him near the door. Low voice, short sentences. Not a scolding. A transfer of weight. We're done with prints and props. You bring me notices. You bring me problems in daylight, or you don't bring them at all. Rayon nodded, the small nod of someone who finally recognizes the difference between ran and run. On the bench, Anita sealed the fake badge in a flat evidence folder and wrote a case number on the tab. Raffi checked his text. Locksmith, 2 p.m. confirmed. He tucked the confirmation into his cap like a lucky ticket and turned to Zara. I'll knock at 1:50, he said. Daylight. You or your sister only? Zara answered with a teacher's economy. 1:50 is fine. I'll be back from school. Shabnam squeezed Zara's arm. I'll sit in the hall, she said. No one but Raffi gets near your door. Zara smiled, quick, real. Deal. At the back, Mrs. Rahman adjusted her scarf and gave Rain a look that wasn't cruel, wasn't soft, just correct. Beta, no more red papers. He dipped his head, not an apology, not yet, but an understanding. The clerk slid a manila sleeve into the file, blue ink on 3 lines. The apology stayed unread as ordered. Paper carried it. The room didn't need to hear his words to measure his next steps. As Zara turned to leave, the judge spoke once more, not for the record. Miss Kershey, she said. Zara paused. You didn't do nothing by staying, the judge said. You did something that matters? You taught a child what the law is not. Zara's laugh came out small and startled, like a muscle remembering how to work. Thank you, she said, then shouldered her bag and went to make it true. Rayan stood at the threshold a heartbeat longer, phone in his hand, thumb hovering over a screen that used to run interference for him. He locked it. He asked the clerk, where do I report for community service? She pointed down the hall. He went. The judge signed the written order. The clerk stamped. The purple folder stayed put, centered on the bench like a weather system the room could read without a forecast. Outside, a locksmith van rolled past the courthouse steps. In a classroom a mile away, a spelling list waited to be read. On a 3rd-floor landing, a neighbor straightened a crooked notice for recycling pickup and pressed it flat with the side of her hand. Gentle as a correction done right. The door to the courtroom closed on hinges that didn't squeak. Inside, the record cooled. Outside, the next right thing had a schedule, 2 p.m., a new lock. After that, 2 weeks, a payment. Then a class, a memo, a letter with a seal that meant something again. The work of fixing what fear pretended to be. The simple law of a door. You knock in daylight or you don't knock at all.